Welcome back to our read aloud of Rebel with a Cause. Subtitle: The Daring Adventure of Dicey Langston, Girl Spy of the American Revolution. Say all that in one breath. A good book, though. We recall that last time we read, Dicey, the main character, was delivering supplies and letters to rebel soldiers who were fighting the American Revolutionary War against Britain. And an important detail is that the coats that the rebels wore are blue, and the coats that the British wore were red. We also heard about a character named Bloody Bill, who was a particular danger. And Dicey just barely made it away from a couple of red-coat British soldiers at the end of our last reading. Let's read about her continued adventure today. 2 rainy weeks later, Dicey stood dripping at Beth Camp's door with a package. Beth Camps, you might recall, is secretly engaged to Dicey's brother. A gift? Beth asked. A wedding gift, Dicey exclaimed. Beth's face brightened with joy. Solomon told you, didn't he? You saw young Solomon? He's alive? Mrs. Camps cried. Thank goodness. I worry so about that boy. There is death and danger everywhere these days. And now we hear Bloody Bill is coming to South Carolina. Bloody Bill? Dicey asked with alarm. When did you hear that? In the crowd after church yesterday. Someone said Bill's band was killing patriots along a path in North Carolina. They're camped by the border. That is just 2 days' march away. Dicey sprang to her feet. I must be going. Back home, Dicey thought about Bloody Bill as she prepared supper. People said he had been a good soldier at first, but he began to love violence even more than he loved the Loyalist cause. Recall that the Loyalists are what? Again, remember this? We have Loyalists and Patriots in this story. Patriots are the name the people call themselves if they are in favor of the colonies forming a new country. That country would become the United States eventually. And then Loyalists are people who were against that, who wanted to remain part of Great Britain, colonies of Great Britain. Let's continue reading. Now he used his red coat uniform to get away with terrible cruelty and murder. The men who rode with him were just as heartless. Dicey shuddered. Bloody Bill would attack her brother's camp tomorrow. Who could warn them? Father wanted her safe at home, but he could not ride in this weather himself, and Henry was too young. I will have to go, she said out loud, tonight. Where? Colin asked. Dicey looked up with a start. To bed, of course. Seems like she doesn't want Colin to know where she's going. I wonder why. After supper, Dicey pretended to go to bed. She waited under the covers, thinking, I can't take a lantern tonight. Bloody Bill might see the light. And horse hooves make too much noise. I'll have to walk. I'll wear Mother's old waterproof cape. At last, the only sound was the rain pattering on the roof. She slipped out of bed. There was a long journey ahead. Dicey stepped into the dark, stormy night. Hurry, she told herself. She ran through the wet fields and woods until her legs ached. Dicey stopped to lean against a tree trunk. Her eyes closed. No! She woke herself, took a deep breath, and ran on. At last she heard the gurgling, rushing Honoree River ahead. She stepped into it, but when the water filled her boot, she stopped to think. If my skirt and petticoat get wet, they'll drag me down into the water. I could drown. She shuddered, wishing she could swim. But I must warn them. Dicey looked both ways in the dark, then took off her long skirt and petticoat. Standing in her thin white shift and boots, she wrapped the clothes in her cape and waded into the cold, wild river. Soon she was waist deep. The dark current fought to sweep her away. Keep going, she told herself. Surging water rose to her neck. One more step, she whispered, one more. A rock shifted. Her foot slipped. There was suddenly nothing under Dicey but water. Now, why is that a problem? She shuddered, wishing she could swim. Seems like Dicey can't swim. So if there's nothing under her but water, that is a problem. No! Dicey screamed and choked on the rushing water. The current tumbled her downstream. Finally, she felt stones at her feet again. Dicey stood up in the water, gasping for air, her teeth chattered with cold and fear. It was dark all around. Where's the shore? Which way is the camp? Dicey wanted to cry, but what good would that do? No, I have to save them. She made herself calm down. With surprise, she realized she was still clutching her bundle of clothes. She felt the current pushing her on one side. That told her which way to go. The rain was easing as she struggled up the riverbank. She caught her breath, pulled her wet clothes back on, and hurried into the forest. At last, Dicey staggered into the camp. "Solomon!" she called. "James, it's Dicey! Everyone get up!" Around her, men yelled from inside their tents. "We haven't slept in 2 days," one mumbled. A familiar voice called, "Dicey, what's wrong? What are you doing here?" "Solomon!" Dicey cried. "Bloody Bill is coming." Solomon stumbled out of his tent. He yawned and rubbed his eyes. "What are you doing here in the middle of the night?" he asked. "Bill is many days' ride away. We'll get up at dawn." "No, Bill will be here today," Dicey insisted, taking charge. "Get up, hurry. Rip some wooden shingles off that bed. Find me some dry wood. I'll build up the fire and make you breakfast." Why are there wooden shingles? Oh, not on the bed, on the shed. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense. Wooden shingles are usually found on a roof. It would be a strange thing to put on your bed. One soldier walked to the fire. You sure he's coming?" Dicey stamped her foot. "Yes, now fetch me cornmeal and salt. I'll make you all hoe cakes. Get moving." Dicey spread butter onto the shingles and propped them near the fire. The camp filled with toasty corn smell. Solomon grabbed a hoe cake. "It's hot," Dicey cautioned. "We can't wait," he said. "Thank you. Thanks to you, we can warn all the patriot families in Little Eden." Soldiers grabbed handfuls of cakes and hurried off into the forest. James gave Dicey a bear hug. "You've saved our lives tonight, Dicey, and probably many others. Be careful going home, little hero." Then he was off. Exhausted, Dicey ate the last crumbs. She spread out the fire, sprinkled water on the embers, and began the long walk home. "Little hero," she thought, and shook her head. "I was just doing my part." But still, the words made her feel warm and happy. Though she was tired, the return trip was easier. The rain stopped and the sky began to brighten. Dicey could see where to cross the river at the shallow part. Then she ran across the fields and snuck into the house through the kitchen door, cold, but nearly dry. No one was up yet. Dicey sighed in relief. If Father knew she'd gone, he would be angry that she had put herself in danger again. Dicey yawned and made a cup of tea. Then she made a proper cornbread batter. By the time Father limped downstairs, breakfast was ready. "You look tired," Father said. "I couldn't sleep," Dicey answered, not meeting his eye. "That's technically true, I suppose." "Hot cornbread!" Henry sat down and dug in. "I wish Solomon and James could have some." Dicey almost laughed. Why'd she almost laugh at that? Well, I wish Solomon and James could have some of the cornbread. If you look back here on the previous page, we see they actually did. That's kind of a little joke that Dicey gets to know that and nobody else does. All right, we'll conclude our thrilling adventure, Rebel with a Cause, the daring adventure of Dicey Langston, girl spy of the American Revolution, tomorrow, when we finally confront Bloody Bill.